Welcome to the new sound of Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com. Exciting online TV and radio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Welcome to the new sound of Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com. Exciting online TV and radio. Watch and listen to what you've been missing. Broadcasting independent music, art, and culture. From the world of pop to poetry, classical to cutting edge. Movies, comedy, jazz, jams, rock and roll baby, interviews, information, and event listings. Join the revolution. It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.
Welcome to Divine Dialogue, heard on Rockland World Radio, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday evening. Be sure to check out the archives, which you can get to by clicking on the program page off the menu bar. And now the hosts of Divine Dialogue, Lisa Howard and Teresa Weinecke.
Good evening. We're on sync here. Welcome back. We are with Divine Dialogue. Lisa Howard, Teresa Weinecke. How are you this evening? It has been a wonderful few days since Thanksgiving. Right. You're past Thanksgiving, celebrating, being thankful for everything that we do have and everything that is already here and everything that's continuing to come to us in our lives, in the world, and for all that we love and the people in our lives. So, how was yours?
It was good. It's been a great few days. As you know, we talked on Saturday. Teresa and I talk every Saturday for one of our REACH workshops. That's our power call for our group, which I look forward to that power call because it reminds me. Mm-hmm. So we've already shared about some of the common occurrences on Thanksgiving, making sure our house is clean for company. I never got dressed. I cooked my dinner in my pajamas, and I loved it. It was the first time I've ever done that. Dinner was perfect, and it was on time because there was no time. So it wasn't like I had to do a 3 o'clock dinner. Mm-hmm. I said dinner is ready when dinner is ready. So, and so dinner was ready, and it was, I have to say, I think I outdid myself. I did overcook everything slightly. But they were all new dishes, and so Bobby Flay and Mario Patelli and Michael Simon were my chef masters, and I was their sous chef.
Okay.
So we did a great job. And, it's always a great time. Thanksgiving's always a great time to reflect about what we're grateful for. Part of me actually felt a little sad today because I thought to myself that it ends too quickly. Thanksgiving, for the holiday, for the calendar itself, it's once a year, right? And so I think that part of the reason I was feeling a little sad this morning, or melancholy, if you will, is not because, my family left, because it is nice to have my home back to myself, but that the reasons to be joyful and to feel gratitude seemed short-lived. Now, I practice gratitude, the reflecting, journaling, and really putting myself consciously, as you are aware, I consciously make the effort of putting myself in a space of gratitude. And that's a strategic move, right? That's for my dynamic evolution, right? Coining your title. But I wonder how many people, why is it, or how is it? How can we take giving and turn Thanksgiving into something that occurs more than once a year? So maybe it's not, 355 days. Mm-hmm. Or, 356 in the ideal world, 355. It seems to be 355 to 1. On one day a year, we celebrate and we take a moment to think about what we're grateful for. And the other 355 days a year.
Yeah, you say that, and I was just listening to something. I listen to a lot of audios in the car or when I'm working out. So I'm always listening to something. I'm not a big music fanatic, but I do love empowering conversations, learning new things. And I was just listening, I can't remember who I was listening to, but the topic was why there are traditions. And, I think it was Joel Osteen. I was listening to Sunday morning.
Wouldn't be
at
surprised.
9 o'clock, and he was talking about all the traditions that have occurred to bring your remembrance back to or up to your celebration of whatever is to be celebrated in your life. Not just once a year, but whenever it is that you want to do it. Bringing the family on a birthday. So you
Right.
celebrate yourself on your birthday. And then you celebrate on all different traditions that you have. Maybe it's in celebration of, sometimes people get together on a sad occasion to remember somebody who had passed away and you commemorate them. But why don't we celebrate the things that give us joy and the things that give us life and the things that we love and participate in much more frequently? And we were talking on our power call Saturday. I had shared that, I brought out my mother-in-law's dishes to use on Thanksgiving, and she had passed away. And we brought out Aunt Marge's silverware. She had passed away a few years ago. And brought up my father-in-law's, his salad servers, the tongs that he had made of this beautiful wood, and he had passed away. So thinking, why do I always wait just for a special time of year to bring it out? Why don't I celebrate them and connect with them and be attached, many, many days during the year? So it is what I've been thinking about also.
Right. Because it's normal. I think this is very normal. This society has become accustomed to celebrating certain holidays at certain times, and it's not socially, or at least it's in today's day and age, it hasn't been socially acceptable to, you're a dreamer if you want to live a life where you focus on the joyful things, and people will say to you, well, this is the real world, we have to live and we have a job and it's not always going to be peaches. And well, you get that, right? Because there is a process in this thing called life, and you have to engage in the process. But I just know that since I'm 15 years old, there's always something been nagging me about how I show up, what it is I want to do. Obviously, I'm a saleswoman by trade. That's what I've done for the last 30 years. And I love what I do because of my relationships with my customers, and I know that ultimately what I'm selling becomes part of something that's being built. But I want, we've talked about this many times, what I do in my free time and who I choose to socialize with is very much a strategy. And it's a strategy because I want to live a certain type of life with a certain caliber of people, persons, environments, communities. And so I'm deliberate. I know who I want to be friends with. And I know that they are not for my growth, but for our growth. And that friends and colleagues and associates and the organizations that I affiliate myself with will support a like-mindedness. Speaking of which, today, Teresa and I have been preparing for this show for a few weeks now. And ideally, by the time the new year comes, we will have a schedule of guests throughout the year. But up to now, because we were getting our feet wet and we really wanted to present an organic environment where divine dialogue can just take place. So we have been going through with various, or researching various organizations, specifically because of the holiday and Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is apparently the most charitable time of the year. Most nonprofit organizations, this is their make or break. They hope to raise enough money to help carry them through, because come January, when Christmas is over and the credit card bills come in, charitable giving is kind of backburnered. This time of year, for many reasons, individuals find themselves looking to serve. So, in pursuit of bringing to your attention and raising awareness to some of the smaller organizations that don't have the deep pockets, like a Susan Komen Foundation or Breast Cancer Awareness, all of which are fantastic organizations that have been around for a long time, and they're doing wonderful, wonderful things. But there's also a huge part of the nonprofit world that is, for lack of a better, it's a thankless job. not too many people are thanking the folks that make these organizations possible.
Outside of the people that they're serving.
Outside of the people that they're serving, exactly. So while we were researching organizations, just in this area, just in this community alone, we've mentioned People to People. So we're going to be heading off some really wonderful fundraising projects in January with People to People. But in my research, I stumbled upon a little gem known as the Soup Angels. You can look up this organization. It is a nonprofit organization that works out of the First Reformed Church on the corner of Bird and South Broadway here in Nyack. I happened to be parking my car. I was literally researching food pantries in the Rockland County community, and there were just pages and pages of food pantries. Many of which are in our local area, as well as Google was taking me far past New York. And so I stumbled upon the Soup Angel, and so I was intrigued by this cute little illustration of an angel. And what intrigued me the most is that their mission statement is, now our guest next week is Larry Alexander of the SoupAngel.com. But their mission, this is what I loved most. I said to Larry today, Larry, if you had a 2-second elevator speech, what would that be? And he said that we serve meals every Monday and Wednesday to whoever walks in the door, no questions asked. And I loved that. It was that simple. So he writes here that the Soup Angels is an all-volunteer, non-denominational group of service-minded individuals currently operating under the nonprofit status of First Reformed Church of Nyack. We serve dinner every Monday and Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. at the church. The entrance is on Bird Street between South Broadway and Cedar, and there is access for persons with disabilities. Among our guests are elderly persons seeking a meal, companionship, the working poor and their families, and those who are homeless. And again, no questions asked. So I stopped in on the way into our show. I was looking for the First Reformed Church. And I was telling Teresa before we went on air that I was driving around trying to figure out where I was going to park for the church when all the lights were out. So I couldn't see where Soup Angels. I thought maybe I read the ad wrong, and little did I realize that's staring me in the face. But I was blinded by the traffic light, and I couldn't see the light that said Soup Angels. I was literally standing as close as we are. I was standing in front of the sign. So I went in and saw these. It's a decent size cafeteria, and there were people sitting at tables and they were eating. Today is soup and sandwich night, so of course I joked because they were serving turkey sandwiches, and they had big buckets of green bananas for people to take with them, and I thought maybe they were a different banana. And she said, no, we give them to them so that it takes a couple days for them to ripen and they have something for later. But so I was asking some of the volunteers what it does for them, and as I said before Teresa and I started the show tonight, I wondered if the story it's not about all the people or is it all of it? It's not about just the people we serve, it's about the people who are doing the serving and how giving shows up. Because I think this time of year it becomes so much about give. There are so many people who need it, there are so many people without, and so the story becomes about all of the people that you're serving. But I think that there's a bigger story. Maybe that, to Larry's point tonight on the phone with Larry from the Soup Angels kitchen, said to me that, it's full circle. Giving is full circle. And I can't wait to have him here next week so he can share with you, what this organization has meant to him and how it has changed his life.
Is he the one who started it?
He's one of the founders. As I understand it, there were 4. So I don't know a lot of the back end details for the SoupAngels.com. What I know is when I walked in the door, there were probably 20 people in there with name tags. They were the volunteers, and there were people scattered. Of course, you can't take pictures because for many reasons, a lot of people want to,
anonymous,
remain anonymous and so on. But I really wanted to take a picture of the volunteers. I wanted to videotape the volunteers, and for some reason, that's not an attraction. That's not Hollywood attraction. That doesn't make for major mega movies to volunteer. To videotape volunteers serving without any capital gain, so to speak. But I just thought it was beautiful. It is a holiday weekend. There was one woman who had to leave. She had to pick up her kids from, I think she said soccer practice. So I didn't have enough time, nor did I give them enough notice, but otherwise I would have interviewed each one of those volunteers to hear their story, because that's where I think the gift is. We've heard so much about the gift is in the giving. Well, unless you're the recipient, you really like getting the gift. Right. But I have truly learned, and I think that's eventually how you and I even got connected, because somewhere along my path I realized that the benefits of giving, and you're aware of that, and you've had your journey, and then we end up meeting at Centers for Spiritual Living, and it's giving doesn't have to be something that's a spiritual pursuit, but it is. Spiritually minded individuals are givers. It's not that we give to be spiritually minded.
Right, no.
Spiritually minded individuals give.
I think it's that for me, I just feel so blessed. And Jill sits next to me when we're at Center for Spiritual Living, and whenever they play I Am So Blessed, I start crying and she starts crying. And just because I just feel so blessed by all the people that I've met along the way, for everything that's come to me in my life, and I just can't not cry
and get emotional.
That
Those are
feeling of
tears
being
of
blessed.
joy, right?
So in the givingness is because I feel like I've just. I'm not extremely wealthy. I come from a regular background, and I just feel so blessed for everything that we have all the time: our good health, the small things, and the big
Right.
things, which are the big things. So,
Would you say
so
you were
people give-
always aware of that?
No, I was not always. I always was very in touch. I felt always in touch and satisfied with what I have. Like I was grateful for everything that I've had. And there are times when I wanted more. I was on that golden handcuff, want more money. And until I got to the point where we weren't taking in as much money as we normally have from our jobs and our experiences that we were having, did I realize that I really didn't need all those things that I was buying with them. I mean, it felt good to have, and a lot of the stuff you buy for the kids or you buy for gifts, or then you find that you have this pile of stuff that, what am I going to do with it now, right? So,
right.
And I'm so happy to give whatever we did buy to people who may need it, and we always do that. We always continue to clean out and to give the stuff that we're not using right now. But I just really did realize that what I really want now is knowledge. What I really want now is experiences. What I really want now is to communicate. And my husband's always kidding me. He goes, with my kids, you always want them to talk. Why do you always want to talk to people? I like to connect with people.
Right.
And I want to know their story, and I want to know their experiences, and I want to share in that with people. And part of my giving is in my listening. I'm a great listener, and I just love to listen to people. So when I feel blessed, I feel like giving more. And so I think when we're just more grateful, if we're spiritually minded, I think that just kind of helps move all that energy through you.
Right.
It does for me.
So whether it's a Joel Osteen or even a Creflo Dollar, I've heard Creflo Dollar. I mean, Joel Osteen, I will tape him every Sunday if I can't be at home, which is typically I'm at one of the Centers for Spiritual Living on a Sunday. But so I tape it because sometimes I just want a Joel Osteen overdose.
Absolutely.
So I tape them, and then I'll spend a day where I will do nothing but Joel Osteen. My house will be incredibly clean. My house is incredibly impeccable on that Joel Osteen day marathon.
Well, what I love is that we have our Saturday power call, so that's our start of our day. Joel Osteen is on at 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
Right.
Then we have this on Monday night, and then when we have our Reach program on Tuesday night, so for the 4 days in a row, plus the prepping we do and the planning we do and the learning that we do, it's like we get it a lot. And I think that's what we need to do, is fill up ourselves a lot with that stuff that helps us move forward, help us grow,
Right, so we can tip the scale.
Right.
So it's not just one Thursday in November.
Right.
Hence the whole topic of tradition, and that we celebrate and we make room in our lives to give one season a year. And then come the new year, we go right back into our sort of sleepwalking state, as though the issues that we were tending to just a month prior have all been solved. And now January comes and we go right back into our doing, working and assuming that all of these things will take care of themselves. Yet, that feeling, that wonderful feeling that comes from giving, whether it's seasonal or a life shift, how is it that incredible feeling of giving can be replaced in January? Replaced with what? Do you know what I'm saying? Everyone I have spoken to, everyone that we're aware of, listening to you talk, it's no surprise that you and I made that connection, that initial connection, because I share that passion for wanting to hear people's story and how it happened for you and what it was like, and what's the aha moment that really got you to, stay awake longer. And so working with nonprofit organizations, whether it's a children's organization, I happen to be partial to food pantries and places that help support families working poor, not just the homeless, but the working poor, because they are more and more. The statistics in the last 2 weeks, hearing some of the organizations that I've been in contact with talk about the poverty rate, and now that SNAP, which is the acronym for food stamps program, has been decreased again. The number of people needing food stamps has risen, and the amount a family can have has decreased. So, that's an ugly situation for a lot of people. And these are people who are working. So it's not that they're not looking for a job and they don't want to help themselves. They're working and they still can't make it. But for all the people that I spoke to, they all talk about, that for them the reward, they're quite aware that this is not an exchange for money. When you're volunteering for one of these organizations, you do it for your desire to serve and to give back. No one's getting rich working with the nonprofit organizations. In money, they're not getting rich, but they are becoming so much more of a wealthy, contributing member to society because of what that giving has done for them in return. It's an inside job.
Right.
It really is an inside job. So, there's always the group of individuals that will show me the money. But the money, as you and I know, it shows up in so many different ways. It doesn't necessarily come in the form of a check or in a $100 bill, but a lot of opportunities open up for you when you are more consciously aware of your giving and consciously venture into a giving agreement.
Right. And another word for giving is just being a contributor. Not contributing just in money, but time and talent, and just contributing to the evolution of the world, to the evolution of you,
Right.
evolution of people. And like you, I think that's why I love hearing people's stories, and really not hearing people's stories like to take me down with them, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, but hearing people's stories and the shift that has occurred for them, how they got from where they were, the thinking that had them stuck at the level that they were stuck at, to
Right.
their aha moment, like you said, and realize that there were other things to do, and they had it was always there inside of them, whatever it is, to grow themselves and to move themselves, and it's really comes out of the ideas that they have.
Right. So on the desk, on this table, rather, we put this glass. This was strategic, although I am dying for a sip of this water. And obviously it's to engage your mind in the question, is that glass half full or is it half empty? And as cliche, if you will, as that whole analogy is, it's been overused many times. I still think that in that simplest question is a profound, huge answer to what is moving someone's life right now. The driver in someone's life. Is that glass half empty or half full? Right? And so if it's half empty, what do we say to that? If it's half empty, then I would imagine there are a lot of things empty in that life. And if it's half full, I would imagine that that's a rewarding life.
Yeah, because I think,
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that there is either the presence of what you want in your life, or it's the absence of what you don't have.
Right, there's always the wanting.
It's the wanting. And you could say, I want a new car, I want, whatever it is, a new body, or I want a lover, or I want whatever it is that you want. knowing that it's always inside of you to be able to think of what that is and be clear about what that is. Because I've asked people, all the clients that I work with, one of the first questions I ask is, well, what do you want? And a lot of times they're like, well, I don't want this anymore. Or,
well, they don't even know what to want.
Or I don't know. They say, no one's asked me that question ever. Or no one's asked me that question in a very long time. So you start with, what do you want? And I'm assuming this gentleman who started Soup Angels, his want was one, to be of help, to be of service, he saw a need that needed to be filled. So what's the need that you have in your life that needs to be filled? And how are you going to go about doing it? You have the answer inside of you. Because I know if I kept asking the layers, the questions that we ask our clients to really get down deep into what is it they want to create for their life. But,
right.
When they get to the end of their life and they put their pillow down, they put their head on their pillow down for the very last time, what is it that you really would have wanted with your life? And when you ask those types of questions, people dig down. The people that are really ready to start being a participant in their life, they really start to move forward then in their life when they first come up with that idea and declare, well, I'm going to have that then. And
right. But they first have to be willing to engage in their own divine dialogue.
Yes.
They have to ask the question, right?
Yes.
And it's usually latent deep within us.
The answers are always
the question. But if the glass is half empty or half full, if you can spend some time with that thought and think about what that means and what it shows up, not from a place of judgment, whether it's good or bad, but it would just be interesting to know if somebody sees their glass is half empty, are they living a life of joy in comparison to the person who sees the glass half full? I wonder how the two show up differently. From a scientific perspective, I think that we're pretty set on what we think is the answer. Mm-hmm. But we don't know everything.
How about this answer? It's refillable.
Good one,
it's
Teresa.
Refillable.
I like that. I like that one. So if anyone is interested in sharing something that their aha moment or how giving has changed their life or an organization that they've heard about, as always, you can always call in. The number to dial in is 845-353-2910. Again, that's 845-353-2910. We welcome any calls, any questions, and or information that you would like to share about what your giving experience has been or where you see giving going on right now and the people you want to commend for their giving. I want to reach out today to all the folks at soupangels.com at the First Reformed Church here in Nyack and thank them for what they're doing. Although it may be thankless in terms of people knowing what it is they do, there is a greater reward in giving, and I trust that the people who are volunteering their time to help feed and serve people at the soup kitchen are already experiencing the benefits of giving. In fact, This or Better, and the book is titled This or Better. It's about giving and the joyfully ever after consequences of deliberately living life from a giving perspective. Not what we can get, but what we can give. Knowing that we live in a reciprocal universe and the law of circulation is always working, we know that as we give, we get back, and so that's where I've taken giving. Yes, sometimes it is a strategic move, and it's a means to an end, but ultimately, like Dr. Beckworth said in Spiritual Liberation, that worry little about why a person gives, because we all give to live until we live to give. It doesn't matter how you started. Eventually, you will end up realizing that we're here to give, that we give to live, and we live to give. So, in any case, what else would you like to share?
Well, there are many organizations that do just some awesome things.
Here's a list here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 organizations serving food and meals.
In just this Rockland area.
17. And that was, I could have printed more. There were 17. So there is an organization close to your heart or your home. If you haven't found an organization that you do want to support, Teresa and I obviously highly recommend supporting and finding something that you're passionate about and being giving of yourself. And if it's not money that you're giving or donations, then maybe it's time. It's a couple hours a week that you want to spend and sharing your talents. Maybe you're a bookkeeper and you can help an organization do some bookkeeping. It's not just about serving in a soup kitchen. It's about knowing that we are each generators. Each and every one of us on this planet are a generator. And in order to start generating a life of joy, of happily ever after joy, it's an inside job. It starts with us. And we deliberately have to set things in motion with a deliberate intention. I can't say deliberate enough. With the deliberate intention of finding something you're passionate about and giving yourself to it, for it, of it, and watching what takes place in your life.
It's funny, you talk organically as you say that. My husband was just saying to me today, after the Thanksgiving, we've made a declaration, we've made a conscious choice to clear out our space, to live more consciously, and to really move things out of the house that we're no longer using anymore, instead of tripping on them or shoving them in a corner. And then you go, when you go to open a cabinet, you go, you got to fight through stuff to find what you want. So we've been consciously doing this. I actually hired someone to come, because that is my least favorite job, is to do that. Hired someone, her name is Elena Monaco, M Organized, and she loves, that is her gift in the world, is to get people organized. It really is. And to hold your hand through it, to help you make decisions, to move through it. And so she's been coming over for the past, month and a half, 2 months, and we've slowly, room by room, 2 hours at a time, gone through, because I have a hard time releasing things. So she walks me through. 2 hours is all I can handle at one time. But as we've been doing it, we were working in the laundry room, creating this new laundry room that we wanted to be more functional. John said this morning, he goes, I had to realize that. He goes, I had this big aha moment. He goes, we've been doing this decluttering over the past 2 months. He goes, and as I went and did my work this weekend, I was so much more satisfied to walk into the workshop that we have and to find the stuff right there, where you want it, not to trip, not to pull, and have a space that I could lay out this big 3x8 piece of plywood that I could work on to, cut it and paint it and right. Do all those things. And I said, have you noticed through the house, as you go through the house, it's been, there's not all the stuff hanging on the counter and everything has a place. And so what I started to think of was, when you say deliberate, we blueprinted that. We came up with that idea, and we came up with that together, and we decided with each other every week we'll be doing this. And now it's like, here it is. Like, it consciously was created, and now it has come into form. But if we never thought about it, if we didn't make a decision, if we didn't take action on it every single day or every couple of days, because I'm not that fastidious of every day, but it would fall by the wayside.
Right.
But with our concentrated, deliberate effort, that's how, when you talk organically, that's how anything happens in your life.
Right.
The giving that you give, the help that you give, the wealth that you accumulate, the friends that you share your life with, the people that are in your life. It is deliberate, whether you know it or not. It is deliberate, because it all starts with the thinking right. of when you have people around you, who are the type of people, what you were saying in the beginning. You're clear about the people you want to have in your life. And a lot
right.
of those people are people who are givers, who help in the world, who, do things, are spiritually
Absolutely.
minded. So how do you blueprint your life? How do you then start blueprinting your giving and your contributing and your loving and your loving things into existence, as opposed to have them be here because I can't stand it one more minute? How can you live from that place? So that's what we'd love people to really, really start thinking about, is deciding for themselves. Ask them the question, what would I love? What would I love to give? What would I love my health to be like? What would I love my relationships to be like? And you might be able to roll that all up into one beautiful package, to bring it all together and live from that place all the time, and be a contributor and being a model, being a role model for what a wonderful life could look like. Because it's not that we get to the end of the road and say we didn't have enough time, because you have 80, 90, whatever, how many years that you do have.
That's right.
It's that a lot of us start thinking about it too late, what we really did want to have throughout that life. And
Right.
you
Well,
know,
it's not
starting
until
to-
the AARP subscription request shows up that we start thinking,
At 49, 50? Yeah.
they've been
those
sending
ones
it to
are
me
good.
for a long time. I think they've had my age wrong for a long time. But yeah, it's not until we get into halfway through life when we start taking an inventory, right? And I don't know why it is that way. Interestingly enough, at the First Reformed Church tonight, there were several high schoolers there. And of course...
Helping?
Yes,
Or-
helping. And, well, two were recipients as well. But they were also quite a few that were there to volunteer. They're with their parents, they're with their friends, and I love to hear that. I love to see. But I'm not surprised by that. The youth of America, particularly college age, are very, very consciously aware of giving. Much more so, I think, than the AARP candidates. And I say that simply because when you're young and you're in college, you still see a world of opportunity. You're looking from the windows of hope, and you see possibility. And then I think that with time and experience and age, that window seems a little narrower. Not only in what you think you're capable of doing now, right? Because you just assume, well, I may only have 40 years left. No sense in trying because I only have 40 years left. I don't understand that mindset, but I know that there are plenty of people who think like that. But the window for a 50-year-old looks a little more narrow than it does for a 25-year-old. The 25-year-old is coming, it's got peripheral, you can see the whole thing. Whereas we are sort of narrow-minded, if you will, just for the lack of a better word right now, for description only, because we have a set of experiences that have maybe with resistance narrowed the path.
And not only experiences, with all of the media that comes into our view and our hearing and our non-stop, constantly negative news all the time. All the terrible stuff more than the good stuff. You might get one piece every once a week of some good stuff that you hear about. So given the people who are older might listen to that stuff more often than a younger generation. So we also have that on top of all the, just our experiences. This is everybody else's experience in the world. This isn't just our experience anymore.
Right.
They said that our grandparents, in a whole year of living, get the same information that we get in one day. The quantity of all that information.
Can you imagine that? Well, I can totally imagine, which is why I'm fried at the end of the night. I can't take it.
Right.
I can't download one more thing.
I have been criticized for this, but my children have never had a news broadcast in their hearing zone for the time that they've been at any age. I've never had the news on.
Really?
Because of the blasting of all the negative stuff and the scary stuff and the frightening stuff. Now, once they reach an age and they're on the internet and they're doing their own thing, but as they were growing up, I did not want to put that into their conscious space all the time. So my house is pretty much news free.
And Teresa, that's interesting because when Samantha was born, now Samantha's going to be 24, but when she was born, I was not aware of all of this, although I wasn't aware of metaphysics or any of the universal laws, so to speak. But Samantha very rarely, I didn't have news on. Then there came a period in my life where I was a news junkie, and I actually would pride myself on the fact that I knew everything that was in the news. And then, and did you hear about that? And whoever would listen to me, then I would tell them, and I'd redo the news broadcast all over again, and I loved knowing that I knew what was going on, but what was I sharing? I was sharing nothing but the garbage, and I shouldn't say garbage, because that's to say that that there isn't a purpose for news media. It's just that when you play the same thing over and over again, and every 10 minutes, that derailment, that's a horrific accident. But when I do turn the TV on in the house, I hear the news repeating the same thing every 10 minutes.
I know.
It's not even new information.
And then we wonder why we're so stressed.
Right. But to your point that your children have not grown up hearing a news broadcast when they were smaller, my grandson Anthony has not heard a news broadcast because I am more conscious of it, and so no, I don't want that. In fact, I will drive my daughter crazy sometimes because I'll see something on the TV. Do you really think that that's something that you want the baby to hear? And she looks at me like I'm Greek and have 10 eyeballs.
Right.
You know, because she doesn't, Mom, he just doesn't know. And I said, you'd be surprised what he's absorbing right now. We're sponges.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why when you bring it back to giving, so don't bombard them with all that negative stuff on the news, but engage them or let them participate in when they're young into the giving and the good that it does and and
right. So as I was speaking to the women at the soup kitchen, I think 60 hours of community service is mandatory now to get your diploma. I think it's one of the requirements now that
in the high schools.
In high schools, it's worth half a credit. And so I said something to the woman, and I said, "There's something wrong with this picture, though, because we're teaching our children, which I think is wonderful, that to engage in community service. I think it should be done at the age of 5. Forget about seniors. I think we should have done that a long time ago. But I find it interesting that 60 hours of community service is only worth half a credit. And some of the other curriculums, it just doesn't weigh. I think that our priorities need to be reevaluated in what we're teaching the youth of America today. Community service, volunteering, even the name nonprofit. We've had this conversation before. The name nonprofit frustrates me because it implies that you cannot make a profit, yet any nonprofit that's not profiting is non-existent. It simply describes a tax-exempt status. It doesn't mean you have to act like a business and operate profitably in order to fulfill your mission. Right? So people think, oh, nonprofit world, oh, you gave to the nonprofit. What do you want? When really that sector, that nonprofit sector, the title does them no justice. It does them no justice. And for individuals who feel that working with a nonprofit or helping a nonprofit has to be a total act of pious penance, if you will, they must be related to me somewhere. Somewhere really, ancestors and ancestors back, because that's how I was raised. I was raised thinking that you should help people less fortunate than you, and that it was definitely it was a pious act of us wanting something from God and wanting to be worthy of it, and so we had to do that. It came from guilt and obligation. Whereas now, I do see, as an adult who can make her own decisions and deliberately chooses to participate in the arena of charitable giving. I don't want to call it the nonprofit arena, the charitable giving. And encouraging people and sharing with them the win-win of giving, because it really is. It is not just something wonderful that the Dalai Lama talks about or that Buddha talked about or any other religious icon out there. Unless someone deliberately ventures into a giving program, whether you're tithing, your time, your talent, or your treasure, 90 days. Set up a 90-day, because we're probably running out of time. I would encourage our viewers to entertain a 90-day giving plan. Find something in your in your neighborhood, close to your heart or your home. If there is an organization that you have had a personal experience that has impacted your life in one way, or someone in your family, then investigate and do some research and see if you feel passionate about supporting it. Or pick something close to your home, because charity really does start at home, and it's about home being the U.S. For me, home is the U.S. It's not just about the county I live in. It's about the U.S. And I think it's more than just a pretty thing you see on the calendars that Staples is selling now about giving. There are benefits to giving.
Interesting, because when you say it starts at home, my niece runs a CCD program over in Yorktown at St. Pat's. And one of the things, all of the students who are being confirmed, they have to do a project. And she actually gave 1 year. I don't know if she continues to do this, but when my daughter was that age and her friends were at that church, they're giving, they didn't want, because they knew that a lot of times the parents always did the projects, or they made the kids do it, or they organized it and the kids just had to show up. So what she really did, she asked for the students who are going to be confirmed to do their giving at home, to have it be in the family, helping. And that's where she wanted it to start. She didn't want it to be the parents' problem, to taking them somewhere and managing all that, but it was about doing things at home as a family and how to be more related and give, to start there.
Right.
And then they could go, take it out further than there. But that's where she really started. The core of it was the giving at home. And I think that's so important, because when, you live together, after a while, you just not take advantage in a bad way.
Not an intentional way, but
Yeah,
we do
but-
tend to take things for granted.
Yeah, we take it for granted, so.
We do. We take we can, and even for people like you and I who are consciously, we're teaching, we're attending the classes, we're holding the classes, and yet we can still be at times. I can be. I don't want to speak for you, but I can be. I can get discouraged in a day and forget my gratitude. Absolutely, I can get caught up in life and what's going on in my doingness, and I can forget to be grateful.
Yes, you can.
Right, and it's more than just saying, "Well, I am grateful. I said thank you." It's not. It's a verb. It really is more of a verb, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and I have to be consciously bring myself back. All the little things that drive you crazy about the people that you live with for a long period of time. Really bring myself back and just be so thankful and grateful that, as a parent, part of one of the classes I teach is on parenting, and to remember. When I learned this, I thought it was so important to tell people we are not here to tell our kids what to do. We're here to guide them, and how fortunate we are.
I should have met you a long time ago.
How fortunate we are to have these unique beings for the short time that we do have them, because at 18 they're gone, and at 15, I'm being generous here, they're emotionally gone. They really don't want to be with you anymore. So you do have a very short time to appreciate them and to see their genius and their greatness, and appreciate and love that individual that's been gifted to you. And that you really, if we as parents could see ourselves as guides as opposed to tellers and expectants and that type of way, it's a completely different way to parent and to be connected in a family. And so go back to the giving at home. How could you give to each other in that way where you see each other as special and unique? And just it was so wonderful that God brought us all together to live in the same house for this many years, as opposed to, I remember when they were little, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. When are they leaving? My life will never be the same. And
Right.
now you get to the other side.
Then they become 18 and you want to keep them a few more
Yes,
years.
you just want to keep them and hold them and love them. So as we wind up, because we are winding down to the end of our hour here.
Well, aside from letting you know that next week Larry Alexander from soupangels.com will be here to talk about what it is they do and how you can help for those who are interested. Again, Teresa and I encourage you to call us or email us at thisorbetter.com and let us know the topics you'd like to discuss, how it is you show up, and what it is you'd like us to know about. Do you know of someone doing something spectacular in the community, giving back in some way that you'd like to tell us about? And if so, please, by all means, call us or email us at thisorbetter.com. Teresa and I are here to answer any questions you may have, and we're really very eager to know what you, the viewer, wants to engage in. What type of divine dialogue would you like to engage in? All are welcome. On that note, we wish you a wonderful week, and that we stay grateful-minded, that we, every day that we start this week, from Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, that we wake up every morning and before we put our feet on the floor, we take a moment to be grateful, not only for the opportunity for that day, but to just that we get to show up, for the being grateful, knowing that we get to decide how we show up today. And on that note, we bid you a good night and a good week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Thanks. Be well.
Roll Baby interviews, information, and event listings.
My cold is never cold.
Join the revolution. It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.